The group stage. The group stage is where the tournament begins. The 48 teams are divided into 12 groups of 4 teams each. Every team plays 3 matches, one against each of the other teams in their group. 3 points are awarded for a win, 1 for a draw, and none for a loss. At the end of the group stage, the top 2 teams from each group advance automatically to the knockout rounds. That gives 24 teams a guaranteed place in the next stage. But unlike previous World Cups, the group stage does not end there. The third place rule. For the first time in World Cup history, some third place teams also advanced. After all 12 groups have been completed, the 8 best third place teams from across the entire tournament progress to the knockout stage alongside the 24 group winners and runners up. This means 32 teams in total move forward, exactly double the number that survived the group stage at previous tournaments. The 8 third place teams are ranked by points, then goal difference, then goals scored to determine who goes through. It gives teams who finish third in a competitive group a genuine second chance rather than an automatic exit. The round of 32. The round of 32 is a brand new addition to the 2026 World Cup and something football has never seen before at this level. All 32 qualifying teams enter a straight knockout round where the loser of every match goes home immediately. There are no second chances from this point forward. This round takes place in late June and produces 16 winners who then move into the traditional round of 16. For smaller nations, simply winning a match in the round of 32 can represent the greatest result in their footballing history. The introduction of this round also means the tournament now has one more knockout stage than any previous World Cup, the round of 16. The round of 16 follows the same format that football fans have known for decades. 16 teams compete in 8 single elimination matches. Win and you go through, lose and you go home. The matchups are determined by a preset bracket based on which groups teams finished in and how they qualified. This stage typically produces some of the most dramatic and memorable moments of any World Cup as the stakes become impossibly high and the margins between teams grow tighter. In 2022, it was here that Morocco made history, becoming the first African nation to reach the quarter-finals by eliminating Spain on penalties in one of the most breathtaking shootouts the tournament had ever seen. The quarter-finals. The quarter-finals reduced the tournament to its last 8 teams. 4 matches are played across 2 days, with the winners advancing to the semi-finals. By this stage, only the strongest and most resilient teams remain. Tactical battles become more common and single moments of brilliance or individual errors carry enormous weight. In 2022, Argentina survived one of the most chaotic quarterfinals in memory against the Netherlands, a match that finished 2-2 after 90 minutes and descended into tunnel brawls and 18 yellow cards before Argentina finally won on penalty. A quarterfinal exit at a World Cup is considered a major disappointment for the traditional heavyweights of the game, the semi-finals. The semi-finals are where the tournament truly reaches its emotional peak. 4 teams remain, each just 1 match away from a World Cup final. The 2 winners progress to the final while the 2 losers meet in the third place playoff. What makes semi-finals so uniquely brutal is that every mistake is magnified and every decision feels like it could end a nation's dream in an instant. In 2014, Germany embarrassed Brazil, where they tore apart Brazil 7-1 on home soil in front of their own supporters and went on to beat Messi 1-0 in his first World Cup final. The third place match. The third place match is contested between the 2 teams who lost their semi-finals. It takes place the day before the final and gives both nations one last chance to finish the tournament with a medal. While some argue the match lacks the intensity of earlier rounds, for players and supporters, it still represents a World Cup medal and a lasting memory. In 2022, Croatia defeated Morocco in a match full of emotion, with Luka Modric playing what many assumed would be his final World Cup game. The final. The final is the single most watched sporting event on the planet, with an expected 1.5 billion people to watch this year's final. 2 teams compete at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey with the entire world watching. If the match is level after 90 minutes, 30 minutes of extra time is played. If scores remain tied after that, a penalty shootout decides the champion. The winning nation lifts the FIFA World Cup trophy, one of the most recognizable objects in sport. In 2022, the world witnessed arguably the greatest final ever played involving a hat-trick from Mbappe, and still falling short. Argentina and France produced a match that swung between heartbreak and euphoria before Messi finally lifted the trophy after a penalty shootout. For the players involved, regardless of the result, appearing in a World Cup final is the defining moment of a career. The 2026 final on July 19th will be the culmination of millions of hours of blood, sweat, and tears. 39 days of football played across 3 countries, 104 matches, and 48 nations, all chasing the same dream. The goalkeeper. The goalkeeper mainly operates in the penalty box and is the only player on the pitch allowed to use their hands. They are only allowed to do so in their own penalty box, and anywhere else is called a handball foul. Their main job is simple: keep the ball out of the net. They make reflex saves, claim crosses, and organize the defense during corners and free kicks. Some stay close to their line and focus purely on shot stopping, while others, known as sweeper keepers, rush off their line to clear danger almost like an extra defender. There are also ball-playing goalkeepers who are comfortable enough with their feet to help build attacks from the back with accurate one-touch passes and even taking on defenders. Today's best keepers usually combine all three skills. Manuel Neuer changed the position entirely in the 2000s by playing far outside his box, and he's still considered one of the most influential goalkeepers the game has ever seen. The fullback. Fullbacks play on the left and right sides of the defense, usually one on each flank. Their traditional job is to stop opposition wingers and prevent crosses from reaching the box. In the modern game though, fullbacks are often the most heavily worked players on the pitch. They sprint up and down the touchline for 90 minutes, defending one moment and delivering crosses the next. Some fullbacks stay disciplined and defensive, rarely venturing forward. Others push high and overlap constantly, almost playing like wingers. A newer style called the inverted fullback sees the player cut inside into midfield when their team has possession, helping control the game centrally. Roberto Carlos became famous in the late 90s and early 2000s for his pace and thunderous free kicks from ridiculous positions no one else would attempt. Centreback. Centrebacks form the backbone of any defense, playing centrally just in front of the goalkeeper. Most teams use two, though some systems use three, known as a three-back. Their main responsibilities are blocking shots, winning headers, and organizing the defensive line to stop the opposition scoring. Centrebacks also tend to be the players who start attacks, often playing the first pass out from the back. Some are calm, composed passers who help build play, while others are more physical, focused purely on clearing danger and winning duels. In earlier eras of football, there was even a role called the sweeper, a defender who stayed behind the rest of the backline to mop up anything that got through. Paolo Maldini is often held up as the perfect example of intelligence and timing in this position, rarely needing to dive into rash challenges because his positioning was so precise. Defensive midfielder. The defensive midfielder, often called a number 6, sits just in front of the backline and acts as a shield for the defense. Their main job is to win the ball back, break up opposition attacks, and offer a safe passing option so the team can build play from deep. Some defensive midfielders are pure ball winners, relentless in the tackle and constantly reading danger before it develops. Others are deeper playmakers, calm under pressure and more focused on controlling tempo than making tackles. N'Golo Kante became the modern blueprint for this role, covering more ground than almost anyone else on the pitch and seeming to read every opposition pass before it was even played. His value came from what he prevented rather than what he created, helping unfancied Leicester City win the Premier League before doing the same for Chelsea a year later and for France at the 2018 World Cup. If you're new to football, the 2026 World Cup is the perfect time to finally understand the game everyone's talking about. That's why I made a limited time $5 beginner's guide that breaks down rules, players, teams, and everything else you need to know to enjoy the tournament like a lifelong fan. For only $5, go to the link in the description to get it now. Center midfielder. Central midfielders, often known as number 8s, are usually described as the engine of the team. They play in the middle of the pitch and are involved in almost everything, defending when needed and pushing forward to support attacks. Most teams play with 2 or 3 central midfielders depending on their system. A box-to-box midfielder covers enormous distances, defending near their own box 1 minute and arriving in the opposition box the next. Other central midfielders lean more towards controlling possession, dictating the rhythm of a match with their passing. Frank Lampard built his entire reputation on getting into the box from midfield and scoring goals that most midfielders simply never could. Attacking midfielder. The attacking midfielder, often called a number 10, plays just behind the striker and is usually the creative spark of the team. Their job is to find that final pass, unlock defenses, and produce moments that other players simply can't see. Not every formation includes a dedicated number 10, with some teams relying on wingers instead to create chances. Classic playmakers in this role drop deep to collect the ball and dictate play, while others act more like shadow strikers, arriving late into the box to score rather than create. Diego Maradona in the 80s remains the most iconic example of this position, capable of single-handedly winning matches through vision and skill that defenders simply couldn't contain. Winger. Wingers operate out wide, usually one stationed on the left and one on the right. Their main job is to stretch the pitch, take on defenders, and either deliver crosses or cut inside to shoot themselves. Traditional wingers stay close to the touchline and look to whip balls into the box, while inverted wingers cut inside onto their stronger foot to attempt shots on goal. Lionel Messi began his career as a right winger at Barcelona, constantly cutting inside onto his left foot, a pattern that became almost impossible for defenders to stop. A modern-day example is Lamine Yamal, for Barcelona and Spain. Wingers today are often judged not just on goals and assists, but on how much unpredictability they bring to an attack, with wingers winning the majority of the last 20 Ballon d'Or. Striker. The striker, usually wearing the number 9, is the player furthest forward and the one primarily responsible for scoring goals. Some teams play with a single striker, while others use two, often pairing a physically dominant target man with a quicker, more mobile partner. A target man focuses on holding up the ball and bringing teammates into play, while a poacher stays close to goal, waiting to finish any chances going inside the box. Some strikers combine both qualities entirely, capable of dropping deep to link play before finishing in the final third. Ronaldo Nazario, often referred to simply as R9, terrorized defenses in the late 90s and early 2000s with a blend of pace, balance, and finishing that few strikers in history have matched.
The offside rule. A player is offside when they are closer to the opponent's goal line than both the ball and the second-to-last defender at the moment the ball is played to them. It does not matter where the player is when they receive the ball, only where they were when it was kicked. Even being a single centimetre past the last defender counts. The rule exists to stop attackers from camping near the goal, waiting for easy chances. The penalty. A penalty is awarded when a player commits a foul inside their own box. The kick is taken from the penalty spot, 12 yards from goal, with only the goalkeeper to beat. Every other player must stay outside the box until the ball is struck. Penalties are one of the most pressure-filled moments in football because the odds heavily favour the scorer, yet players still miss. The free kick. Free kicks are awarded when a foul occurs outside the penalty area. A direct free kick means the taker can shoot straight at goal. An indirect free kick must touch another player before a goal can be scored. The defending team is allowed to form a wall of players standing 10 yards from the ball to block the shot. The yellow card. A yellow card is a formal warning given by the referee for fouls, time-wasting, diving, or dissent. A player who receives 2 yellow cards in the same match is automatically shown a red card and sent off. At the 2026 World Cup, a player who accumulates 2 yellow cards across separate matches will be suspended for their next game. The red card. A red card results in immediate dismissal from the match. It is given for serious foul play, violent conduct, deliberate handball to deny a goal, or receiving 2 yellows in the same game. The player's team must continue with 10 men for the rest of the match and cannot bring on a replacement. Depending on the severity, the player may also face a multi-game ban. Stoppage time. Stoppage time is added at the end of each half to compensate for time lost through injuries, substitutions, goal celebrations, and VAR checks. The fourth official displays the minimum amount on a board near the touchline. At the 2026 World Cup, referees have been instructed to apply stoppage time more strictly and generously than in previous tournaments, meaning games regularly see 7 or more additional minutes. Substitutions. Each team is allowed to make up to 5 substitutions per match, with a 6th permitted during extra time if the game goes beyond 90 minutes. Substitutions can only be made during stoppages in play. Managers use them to introduce fresh legs, change tactics, or protect a scoreline in the closing stages of a game. Extra time. If a knockout match is level after 90 minutes, 30 minutes of extra time is played split into 2 15-minute halves. Teams switch ends at halftime of extra time. If the scores remain level after extra time, the match is decided by a penalty shootout. There is no longer a golden goal rule, meaning a goal in extra time does not immediately end the match. The penalty shootout. In a shootout, each team selects 5 players to take alternating kicks from the penalty spot. If the scores are still level after 5 kicks each, the shootout moves to sudden death, where each team takes 1 kick at a time until one team scores and the other does not. Goalkeepers are allowed to take a penalty. The shootout is considered one of the most psychologically demanding moments in sport. The handball rule. Not every handball is a foul. The handball must be deliberate, or the player's arm must be in an unnatural position that makes their body unnaturally bigger. If a player accidentally touches the ball with their arm in a natural position, don't be surprised when no foul is given. However, if a goal is scored and the ball touches a teammate's hand or arm immediately before, the goal is disallowed regardless of whether the handball was intentional. VAR. It stands for Video Assistant Referee. A team of officials in a video operations room reviews match footage in real time and communicates with the on-field referee through an earpiece. VAR only intervenes in 4 specific situations: goals, penalty decisions, direct red card incidents, and cases of mistaken identity. The on-field referee can either accept the VAR recommendation or choose to review the footage themselves on a pitch-side monitor before making a final decision. At the 2026 World Cup, FIFA has introduced a semi-automated offside technology that uses player tracking data and multiple camera angles to make offside calls faster and more accurately, reducing the long delays that frustrated fans in previous tournaments.